Hi, in this video we're going to be looking at a new and somewhat revolutionary EQ plugin from Eventide called SplitEQ. But before we get going, please remember to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for all the latest content. New Jersey-based Eventide is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year. The company is widely known for its high-quality digital audio effects units, pedals, and their revered plugin emulations. Having recently rolled out their H9 series plugins, largely based on their H9 effects pedal, the company has now shifted attention back to its structural effects product line. The patented structural split technology was first introduced in Eventide's Physion effect plugin that splits the transient and tonal signals and allows you to process them separately. From a mixing perspective, this allows for the processing of transients separately from the rest of the mix in order to add or remove punch. It also has more creative applications, for example re-pitching drums while maintaining the snappy transient or removing pluckiness from parts to create more drone-like and consistent textures. While Physion also comes with effects like chorus, reverb, and delay that could be used to creatively process loops, SplitEQ is specifically designed to tackle mixing and mastering related tasks. SplitEQ is very exciting because it introduces a transient-based approach to EQing, and we can see it becoming a necessary tool not only for mastering engineers, but also for anyone who wants an all-in-one tool for adding punch, weight, and width to a mix. Using the unique structural split technology, the 8-band SplitEQ is able to analyze and split a sound into two categories of transient and tonal. You're then able to process these signals differently, and this includes EQing, panning, and even mid-side processing. To better understand the structural split concept, let's jump right in and use SplitEQ on a full mix. A bit of housekeeping, this is a video about an EQ after all, so be sure to listen on some decent headphones or studio monitors. You're going to want to check the efficacy of the A/B tests. In Ableton, we've loaded up a track by the live electronic trio Mystery, and you can find the link below to their music. SplitEQ works in a fundamentally different way from traditional EQs, and we'll look at all of the features shortly, but let's start with the transient signal. SplitEQ allows you to solo either the transient or tonal signals, and we can do this to get a better idea of how the EQ is analyzing incoming audio. Here we've soloed the transient signal. It's actually quite impressive just how much the transient signal is catching. You can hear the plucky transients from the arps, only the initial hit from the pad chords, the kick without the subs, and the full clap and hi-hats. It's also been able to accurately remove most of the bass, which adds a lot of peace of mind as you know that you won't be introducing mud while boosting low transient signals. At the bottom of the EQ, there's a transient bar where you can edit the amount of separation between the tonal and transient signals. You can also increase the length of transients via the decay knob. For now, we're going to leave them at their default settings of 50% separation and 30% decay. With the tonal signal soloed, we've lost a lot of the drums, but they're still there slightly. A lot of the kick sub is living here, as well as the whole bass and the parts that don't have any clicky transients, like the pad. Let's use the EQ to boost the subs of the kick that are part of the tonal signal, for example. From the real-time analyzer, we can see that the majority of the kick's punchy signal is between 85 and 90 Hz, so we can start there. It's really useful that the analyzer shows the transient and tonal elements separately, making it easy to spot where the kick is hitting compared to the more tonal sub-bass here in the lower region. There's a dedicated analyzer section at the bottom right where you can switch between the different viewing options and even freeze the analyzer temporarily. Each of the 8 bands allow you to choose the type of curve or filter you're going to get, as well as the slope. At the bottom here, you can see which frequency the band is set to, the amount of gain you're adding to either the transient or tonal signals, and the width of the EQ filters. You can see that everything related to the transient signal is color-coded in green, and everything related to the tonal signal is blue. We'll try soloing this band to find where specifically to boost. It's pretty cool that you can solo the whole band or the tonal and transient signals of the band separately via these headphone buttons. We'll boost here around 87 Hz. You boost the tonal signal by clicking and dragging the blue half circle around the band's number. In addition to boosting the tonal signal, we'll reduce the transient signal to get less of a punch from the kick so that its subs can shine through more. Moving lower down the spectrum, we can add some more sub around 35 Hz with a tonal boost, because we know that the tonal signal includes all of the sub bass and is omitting any subs that could be caused by transients. Here's the mix with and without SplitEQ. We're also lacking some more snap from the high-end elements like the clap and the hi-hat, so we'll try to boost these parts' transient signals. For the clap, around 1.5K works, and for the hat, 7.5K is fine. The boosts we're making are actually quite large compared to what we would normally be able to do with a traditional EQ, but we're able to get away with it as we're only processing the transient signal. Compare with a more traditional EQ, let's use FabFilter's Pro Q2 and make boosts in the same regions. You can hear that the changes to the mix introduced by the frequency boosts in Pro Q are more drastic and harsh as opposed to when we only target the transient. Let's look at another example where we're just going to boost the transient of the kick instead of its tonal subs. We'll also load up Wave Smack Attack, which is a more traditional transient shaping plugin, so that we can compare it with SplitEQ. Transient shapers like Wave Smack Attack can be used to boost or reduce all transient and the sustained signal that comes after the transients, so they have a similar concept to Eventide's structural split. However, the attack parameter is usually very powerful and boosts the lows a lot, introducing mud and artifacts to the mix. It also applies the effect to the entire mix and not to specific frequency bands, which is why these types of plugins work much better on individual elements of mixes prior to the mastering stage. With SplitEQ, let's boost the kick at around 74 Hz with a wide curve and compare it with boosting the general attack parameter of smack attack. We can also make transient boosts in the upper regions to increase the presence of the hat and clap, like in the last example. While we love transient shaping plugins, SplitEQ is just far more surgical and can help solve a lot of issues in the mix. Now let's take a look at the amazing mid-side and panning capabilities of SplitEQ. Being able to pan the transients separately from the tonal music is a shortcut to getting your mix to sound really wide. On the low end of the spectrum, decreasing the stereo width of low bands can make your mix sound fatter. We'll apply both these techniques on this loop from the previous track. We'll first make 3 transient boosts across 3 bands to catch the kick and snare hits, the clap, and the airy hi-hat. We're making the boost quite large in order to be able to pan a lot of the signal. You can see the panning and mid-side balancing controls if you click on the pan tab at the bottom left. You can switch between pan mode and mid-side mode for each band by clicking on the circle icons. For both panning and mid-side processing, you have the option of setting different values for the transient and tonal signals. Moving the hi-hat transients left really makes the track's entire stereo image larger. We can also pan some of the other bands. Next, we'll enable the low band, switch to mid-side mode, and reduce both bands to mono. This immediately adds a huge weight to the low end. Even from the few examples we've looked at, it's easy to see that SplitEQ coins a new approach for corrective and creative rebalancing, enhancing, repairing, and widening of audio. Though SplitEQ is very mixing and mastering friendly, there are lots of different and creative ways it could be used, even if you just use the transient versus tonal soloing button. For example, we've loaded up a guitar recording and want to remove its transients before sending it through some reverb and delay. We can solo the tonal channel, increase the separation and decay to 100%, and this will give us a more strung out drone-like sound. We can also set the source to guitar so that the algorithm works more accurately with our sound. Up until now, we had only been using the full mix option. With the delay on, you can see that if we turn off SplitEQ, all of the transients turn the feedback into a mess, but without them we get an airy pad. This is just one example, but be sure to mention in the comments how you think SplitEQ's tonal versus transient balancing could be used for creative production. Lastly, it's worth mentioning that there's a comprehensive library of 150 presets designed for specific instruments, vocals, and drums to get you started. It can really save time to load up a preset and tweak it until you have the result you want. If you skip to here, then you're probably just looking for the price. SplitEQ is currently available for an introductory price of $99 running up till the new year. From January 3rd, the price will eventually be $179. We've dropped a link in the description to its webpage where you can also download a free 30-day demo. In terms of similar products on the market, this is a new type of EQ, but there are quality dynamic EQs and transient shapers out there that can be used for similar tasks, especially if applied to individual stems instead of the whole mix. These include FabFilter Pro Q3, Isotope Neutron 3, and Isotope Low End Focus, Wave Smack Attack, and Plugin Alliance's SPL Transient Designer Plus. These examples and other effects claim to do vaguely similar things to SplitEQ, but in practice it's years ahead of anything we've heard. Allow a reviewer some hyperbole this one time. SplitEQ and Eventide's other plugins that deploy the structural split patented technology are genuine game changers, and we eagerly await their next development. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button below for more content from Attack Magazine.